Hi, this is Teresa from Teresa's Crafty Cabana, and today I wanted to show you a little experiment that I was doing. I wanted to try to see if I could figure out how to make plaid for my Gelli Plate prints, and I had this idea when I was playing with the string video that I had done recently that maybe I can combine string and some cardboard pieces. I'm using 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and 1/2 inch different sized cardboard pieces, and I'm just kind of laying them out to create some kind of a pattern. And the string is obviously the thinnest piece here. And this is just some twine. Actually, it's kitchen twine, and it has a little bit of a almost like a twisted rope design to it. Doesn't show up too much on the Gelli prints, you'll see later, but it does have a little bit of a texture to it, so I thought that was nice. So what I'm doing is just laying out my pattern and then using hot glue on all of these cardboard strips, and that is how I'm going to secure the cardboard. Now I'm not going to secure the twine with the hot glue because it was so thin. I was afraid I was gonna kind of burn my finger trying to do this, and I figured the blobs of glue would stick out and kind of ruin the look that I was going for. So after I finished adhering all of these little cardboard pieces with the hot glue, I ended up using some craft glue, just regular tacky craft glue, and that's how I adhered those strings. So for this pattern, I went ahead and wanted to have my strings in between each open space left on this background piece. And then for some of my other ones that I'm going to do, I think I made quite a few of these little backgrounds, but these were my first two where I was just trying to experiment and see, will this even work? So this one I did a piece of string in between each of these lines, each of these spaces, and on my next one I didn't do that, and I think I liked this one the best because it had the most consistent pattern. So if you want to try making something like this, I'd say just maybe stay consistent with your pattern, and I think that those turned out looking the best. Now this wet glue, I was just trying to rub away any of the glue that was sticking up, anything that would catch on the Gelli print or the Gelli plate. It will dry clear, so it's not like it's going to show at the end, but I just didn't want there to be anything that was going to take away from the thin line. And then that way, when I do my Gelli print, it was going to come out nice and even. As I'm laying each string down, I'm kind of rubbing it in the glue so it kind of gets it all over, and then I'm pulling it tight. So I rub it around a little, make sure there's glue everywhere, pull it tight on the ends, and pulling it tight makes it a straighter line. So this next one, I had a bit of a different design that I was trying to go for. I was doing the string pieces only in 4 of those spaces, and in the center part I wasn't going to have the string. And in the end, looking back on this, or if you wanted to make one yourself, I would say keep consistent with the string and the spacing. So I was trying to just make a little bit of a different design. What I would maybe suggest is if that pattern were to go across more evenly, there just wasn't enough room for this particular pattern, so when I Gelli printed with it, it wasn't my favorite, which you'll see when I get to that part. So here on these 2 end pieces and in the center, basically I don't have string going between those spaces. Then what's left are these 2 thinner strips, and I'm centering those kind of in that space there. And then the string is just going to go into those 4 spaces. I'd say if I were to improve on this one, I would just somehow incorporate having a string in the center somehow, and I think that would have tied it together. So I'm cleaning up the leftover, or the pieces that are hanging off. Just trimming those off, and then we're going to test these out and see how they work for making plaid. So I really wasn't sure where I wanted to start, so I just decided to put down a base coat and work on top of that. This is just a gold acrylic paint, and I'm just going to give it a nice thin layer, nice and even. And this one does not have the plaid design yet, just because I wanted to have something showing through the plaid design that wasn't white. So part of my experiment, I wanted to do a light color and a dark color. So this is my midnight blue, like a navy color. I'm just gonna see what this looks like. I really wanted to see how well this plaid is gonna look, and I wanted this bold color to help me see what else I would need to make these look better. Because as I said, I was experimenting. I really didn't know how these were gonna turn out, or if they would even turn out at all. So I was pleasantly surprised with how they turned out, but in this first round, I did learn a few things. So both of the little cardboard pieces, strips that I made were facing the same direction. So this one, even though it wasn't the best print, it was okay. But to make it go the other way, it kind of fell short for the design. So that got me to thinking that I need to do a vertical one with the stripes going vertical. So again, that's why I was doing this test print before I got too involved, to make sure I knew what I needed. This one, it did have some kind of gaps and things, but like I said, this is just my tester piece, just seeing if it even looks like plaid, or am I on the totally wrong track here. So they kind of look like windows to me in this particular one. Maybe it's the gold and the dark color kind of look like a building, but I'm still going for plaid, so I'm going to keep trying. So for this next round of templates that I'm making, I'm doing some vertical stripes. So as you remember on the last ones, both of them were going horizontal, so these stripes are all going vertical. And I'm just kind of going with a simple pattern for this one. So these are all the same thickness of cardboard, and then just doing a string down the center of each. And for my next one, I'm just going to do string. So I wanted to have a very thin option, thin line option, so that's what I did with this one. Now, to go with that, I wanted to beef it up a little bit, so I had this thicker twine, just a little bit thicker, so I put those in between each of the thin twine pieces. And I had to make a sideways one, or horizontal one, to match. And now we're going to test that one out. I just have this burgundy color. This is just a cheap craft paint that I got from Michael's a long time ago. But any craft paint that you have would work. And if you have nicer paints, those might get a little bit better results. One thing I will say kind of early on now, if you're thinking about making something like this or you're interested in this, some paints are opaque and some paints are transparent and some are semi-opaque. That does make a pretty big difference on these prints, only because you'll see as we go along, when you layer up the colors, some of the transparent ones, I like the transparent, but I think the semi-transparent or semi-opaque are even better because they allow some of the actual color to show through and some of the color from underneath. But the completely opaque would maybe not show the color underneath, and then the completely transparent just gets absorbed into whatever color it's going on top of. So red on top of green, we all know that makes brown. So that's just a little warning there if you're not sure what your transparency is. Again, that's part of why I was testing all of these out, because I wanted to see what kind of paints went well on top of each other and which kind of paints didn't go well for this technique. So this is just that simple red and white stripe, and it kind of looks like a candy cane, but I like it. It's nice and simple. So then I did a raspberry shimmer paint, and I'm doing just a little bit of stripes onto that one, and I'm going to do the vertical stripes onto this one as well. And now I waited a little bit too long, and I layered that on top of those stripes the simple stripes that I had just done, and not much of the color ended up coming off on this particular print. But all is not lost. That's okay. You can see there's just a little bit of shine just in some little spots, but that's okay. I think I'm doing something different with that one later on anyway. So for the print on top of that shiny red, I decided to do kind of a gradient dark red and light red. Now for this paper that I'm using, it's actually sticker paper. I'll link the sticker paper in the description that I got from Amazon. It's like 100 sheets, pretty good deal. I actually use it for my Etsy shop that I don't really have very active right now, so I had tons of these sheets left over, so I thought it would be kind of nice to have some sticker backgrounds to put on my cards or whatever I end up using them for. And then so for this next one, I'm doing some milky white, just kind of like a creamy white color. I just wanted this to be my sort of my background. I'm not too concerned about like the little there were some dots and spots and things that weren't coming up from the Gelli Plate, but that's okay, because like I said, this is just a background print and it's on white, so you really can't tell anyway. Here I'm layering, this is a little bit of a nicer acrylic paint. These are the Hobby Lobby ones that I like to use. This is a deeper red and a nice bright scarlet red, like a crimson and a scarlet. And for this one, I'm just doing the sideways print and then the vertical print before I take and while the paint is still wet, I'm working kind of fast here, then I take my sticker paper and pull that print. So again, this has the base layer of that creamy white color. So I thought it did a really good job of pulling up the red, and I thought it looked really nice. So now I'm going to go for a gold background and see what this looks like. Make sure it's a nice even coat and you don't have any blotchy areas, or else it won't pull up nice and even. So this has some red in it, but again, I'm layering on top of this, so I don't mind having the different colors because that's my background piece. And to layer that, I'm using this chalk paint. This is a nice kind of lime green chalk paint, which is a very opaque paint. Chalk paint is very opaque, meaning you can't really see through it. But I do such a thin layer that even opaque paints, you can still see through them a little bit. Just layering that piece of gold jelly print that I just did. And then I'm going to use this fresh olive. It's a little bit of a darker green. And I'm going to do my opposite lines, or lines going in the opposite direction. And there we have a pretty cool looking greenish background for a plaid look. Next, I'm using this 14 karat gold. This is a little bit more gold than that first gold that I just pulled. Again, I'm just kind of pulling whatever's left up on the plate. And now I'm doing a gradient of greens. These are still using those Hobby Lobby paints. I'm going to do my stripes going one direction. My idea for this print was to see if I could mix the red and the green together. At this point, I'd only done red together and green together, and so this one I'm going to test. I have a gold background, I have some green stripes, and then on top of that I'm going to put some red stripes. I think it's already looking really nice. So I'm going to do the same thing like I did with the green, and I'm doing a gradient red. This time I'm doing the vertical stripes. And I think this one turned out really nice. You could see the little bit of transparency to this red, and down at the bottom, that green and red together just looked like a plaid to me. So this was the one that looked the most like a plaid so far. Now I'm using this iridescent, it's kind of a greenish iridescent color top coat. This will actually be my base coat for this one. Now I had just done red right before this, so that iridescent color picked up a lot of that red. Again, I'm okay with this because I'm just layering on top of this anyway. Just putting down a lime green color for this one. So we got a little bit of a pink red background and then some lime green stripes. Now I'm going to do some dark green with the opposite side stripes. This one came out a little crooked, but if I'm going to use this on a card base, I would cut it out to not be crooked anyway, so I was okay with that. But just a warning, they can come out crooked. So here's the green and a dark green, light green, and kind of like that iridescent green in the background. Next we're doing a red background. So I'd done a gold background. This is my red background. And I'm seeing what the greens look like on top of the red. I already know my greens are not very opaque. They're pretty transparent, so I knew it wasn't going to be very vibrant, but I was still curious anyway. And it almost made the greens look look maybe like a deeper hunter green. Not quite as bright, but I still liked it. Now I have this chalk paint again that I know is opaque. So I went ahead and put a layer of that down. I'm taking that same print that I just did, the one with the red background. Just gonna layer that on top. Now, I know what you're thinking, I'm ruining my print, and you're probably right, but I'm experimenting, so I was okay if I ruined it because I knew how to make it again if I really wanted the original look. So on top of that green, I have this, it's kind of like a metallic raspberry color red. So I'm gonna put that as the opposite side's stripes. Oh, I'm doing a square. I forgot I did a square with these. I did the string vertical and sideways. And then I got this really cool kind of layered plaid look. I actually liked it a lot when it was all complete like this. So I was a little nervous about doing too many layers, but I think it turned out pretty cool. This last one, I didn't know if I was going to like this one or not. I did some milky white in the middle and then some of just a lighter green on the two edges. And I was trying to make my green a little more opaque by mixing in that white. I pulled a plaid design, and then that first red design that I had pulled, I'm just gonna layer this on top. See what that looks like. Didn't do a very good job mixing my green and the white, so the white was the one in the middle, the greens were at the edges. If I were to do this one again, I would mix my green and white on a palette and then put them onto the plate. So now I wanted to dress up these kind of more boring, I thought they were more boring plaids. I could have layered something on top, but I had this gold pen and I wanted to see if this would look nice to just do some gold lines. So everywhere where there was kind of like one of those big cardboard spaces, I did a line in gold. And for this one, same thing, all the pieces that had a space from the cardboard, I did a line, but in addition to that, I did all the spaces that had from the string. But I was careful not to overlap these, so they were only in the center. So that's another design option there. And then for this last one, I only did the string part with the gold line. No, this was that one pattern that I didn't love that much, so I decided to put a gold line down the center since I didn't have a string down the center. And that's what these plaids with the gold stripes look like. So here are all of the completed jelly prints. That was the more simple red one. This was the red with kind of a cream background, creamy white background. This was a red with a gold background. This was a matte green, so both of those greens were matte color, so they don't shine. This one had the iridescent shine in it, so the two different shiny greens with an iridescent. This one is the one that I used the white and the green on top. This is my very layered one. I had the red and the green, and then I layered red and green again on top with the shiny red. And this is my favorite one. It had the gold on the bottom, the ombre green on the one side, and then the ombre red the other direction. I think this one turned out to be my favorite looking one. So that completes this video of all of these fun plaids. I could do these all day. I even had the idea of doing some fall ones and some Christmas ones, but I just got carried away with the Christmas ones and might have to do the fall ones another time. If you guys are interested in seeing the fall version of these, I can make a video for those. If you enjoyed this video or you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Hope to see you in the next video. Happy crafting!